Hubhopper Originals.
To start your podcast for free, log on to studio.hubhopper.com.
So the pandemic has changed our business completely, actually, and interestingly, it's taken us in a good direction. It's taken us in a very interesting direction, actually. So when the pandemic hit March, April last year, honestly, our sales obviously tanked. Like, who wanted to buy a handbag in the beginning of the pandemic, right? Like, nobody was going out. Everyone's conserving money as well, and obviously this is more of a luxury item, so why would anybody waste spend money in buying that? So obviously our sales tanked, and what I saw is that while sure, I can keep investing in money and we can keep running the business, but our artist partners were really struggling more because obviously we weren't giving them enough work, but we're not, they obviously sell their paintings also, which is quite important overall in their livelihood. But no paintings were being sold at that time because no exhibitions were happening. There was no tourism, and those are their two main channels for being able to sell paintings, right? And that's when we thought, okay, we need to think of something which can help, not just reinvent ourselves, but kind of enable us to make sure that the artist partners we have, we can actually make sure that we can generate revenue for ourselves and for them, right? So when I thought about, okay, what's our biggest asset? The fact is that our artists are our biggest assets, right? Like their talent, the fact that they've been doing this over generations, people want to see it, people want to like experience it. That is actually, what the biggest asset we have. So we launched online art workshops with our artists actually in the beginning of the pandemic in April last year. In fact, the first workshop was literally my family. I told everyone, and my family is all across the world. I told everyone that you have to, pay for this workshop and sign up and join this workshop and paint along with the artist and learn from the artist, because this will help you figure out how to position, create these online workshops basically. And since then, there's literally been no looking back. We've done over 400 workshops in this period.
Wow.
By thousands of people across the world, a lot from India, but a lot from across the world as well, a lot from the US, UK, even Australia, Hong Kong a little bit, Singapore, France, you name the country, and I think we would have had attendees from that country.
Hello and welcome to the Success with Savita podcast, where we share hot tips on how to do life and business without losing your mind. I'm your host, Savita Nanjappa, entrepreneur, high-achieving 9-to-5er turned transformational success coach, helping you create a wildly successful business. Come hang out with me and other fabulous humans like you every week for stories and chats packed with a healthy dose of tips, resources, how-tos, and real talk. Side effects may include a happier and more confident you with each passing day. Hi and welcome to the Success with Savita podcast, and today's segment is called From the Ground Up, where we talk to founders about how they grew their business from scratch, how they found their product market fit, how did they scale, what was the behind the scenes like, what challenges did they face, what were the strategies that worked for them, what didn't work. And joining me for the segment today is my guest, Yosha Gupta. She's the founder of Memeraki, and before we get started, actually, I met her about a month ago on a panel that we were on for Sipping Thoughts, and I was so inspired by everything that she shared about how to deal with challenges, how to deal with the challenges not just in entrepreneurship but also in the workplace, dealing with people, leadership, and everything she said resonated with me, which is why I think she's a wonderful guest, and she's here to share with us how she grew Memeraki. Memeraki is India's first culture tech platform using technology to empower and accelerate the artisan creator economy with a mission to digitize every heritage art and craft of India to ultimately create sustainable livelihoods for artisans while unlocking creative human potential globally. They are reimagining the future of the artisan creator economy. Their work has been covered across media outlets like Forbes, SCMP, Tatler, Apple Daily, Hindu, Indian Express, and more. Yosha was previously the founder and CEO of a cashback app with over 1 million downloads in India, backed by 500 startups, Vector Ventures, Facebook's FB startup program, as well as Cyberport's startup program in Hong Kong. Yosha has spent 15 years in the fintech sector and worked across Asia as a financial inclusion consultant with CGAP and IFC World Bank Group, and also done projects with IDEO and the Gates Foundation. She is a regular speaker at digital and payments events as well as advisor to startups. Yosha was appointed to the Diversity List 2018 for Hong Kong, which aims to give ethnic minorities of Hong Kong a voice in decision making and policy, particularly in government advisory bodies. She was awarded Most Influential Payments Professional by World BFSI Congress and Awards 2018 India. Join me as she shares with us how she built Memeraki from the ground up. Hi, and welcome to the Success with Savita podcast. And in this segment, we call it From the Ground Up, where we talk to founders about how they built their businesses from day one to where they are now. And with me today is my guest, Yosha Gupta. Yosha, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you on this show, and it's my honor as well. So thank you for your time and for showing up today for our podcast interview.
Excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And with that, I know we have a lot to get through. Before we started this interview, I was just telling Yosha that I was reading her bio and I was like, my God, I have so much to ask her. So with that, Yosha, tell us, let's start with your journey, because you had very interesting, you went from fintech and now you're in the art world. So share with us your journey so far and of course, why you started Memeraki.
Yes, thank you for asking that. I mean, yeah, I guess Memeraki is something, it's a venture very, very close to my heart. But I've spent 15 years working in fintech across Asia. I've lived in Hong Kong for 12 years. I've literally just moved to Australia, and I've worked with the World Bank Group as a consultant, fintech consultant with, IFC, Gap, done projects with the Gates Foundation and lots of interesting work. And I've also run a fintech startup before this, a cashback startup, which was in India while I was based in Hong Kong, and, run it from Hong Kong, and I raised venture capital money for it as well. But I think, strangely enough, art is something, while I haven't studied art, I don't come from an art background, but it's always something that I've been very drawn to, and especially traditional art. In fact, I still remember the story. My mom tells me the story very often. Then when I was a kid and she was buying a Madhubani painting and she was negotiating with their artist, and I got so angry that I started crying that, stop negotiating. And I ended up making her pay more than what the artist was even asking for. So I think some things in life just kind of, they come full circle, that I always loved art. It's especially, like I said, traditional art and heritage art and culture. It's something which always has drawn me. I was part of like the Indian Classical Music Society in my university in Lady Shri Ram College. I actually thought I should probably pursue fine arts because I was an okayish artist. I was at least really good at copying, even if I didn't come up with very original creations. But yeah, so I think it's always been a part of me, and I've been a volunteer for an organization called SPICMAKE, Society for Promotion of Indian Classical Music and Culture amongst youth, who actually work with traditional artists all across India in schools and universities. So when I moved to Hong Kong 12 years ago, I actually started the SPICMAKE chapter there. I went to all the universities, introduced the concept to them, and we actually used to invite artists to come from India to perform in Hong Kong very often, literally every year. And I think we must have organized more than 50, 60 events attended by thousands of people. And this was all part of, of my love for the arts, right? Like I was spending time, effort, and money in organizing all of this. So I think, like I said, Memeraki came together as, a completely a love child, literally, of my love for art. And how it happened is that I got a Gucci handbag of mine hand painted by a Madhubani artist. And people in Hong Kong, they liked it so much. They were like, oh, is this a limited edition Gucci? And I'd be like, yeah, very limited. Only I have it. No one else in the world has it. And that literally got the conversation going, and people started asking me about it. And I thought, it looks like, there's actually a space for these arts in new ways, and something that can be done about it. And it's not like they're fading away because people don't like it. It's because A, people don't know about it, and B, people don't find it in formats that can be easily integrated into their contemporary lifestyle, right? So I think that was, literally the sort of starting point of Memeraki, and we just sort of launched it from there. And I think the beautiful thing about it is it brings together my love for art, combined with my career in tech and fintech, so it brings that together really nicely. And I've done a lot of impact focused work with the World Bank Group, so I think it brings all of the things that I deeply care about really nicely. And I'm excited to be building it.
Yeah. So moving on to my next question, it's very interesting that you did fintech, and you don't call Memeraki just like your business where you're helping artisans. You're saying it is a kind of culture tech. It's art tech.
Yeah.
there is a technology aspect to this. Can you share a little bit more about when you
Yeah.
started? So you had this idea, you
Yeah.
decided to start it.
Yeah.
What were some of those early stage thoughts that you had
Yeah.
before you actually rolled out or launched out Memeraki?
Sure. Just one small thing I'd like to point out. We don't like to say help our artisans, honestly, because it's an equal
Okay.
partnership, right? We co-create with them. They are as much a part of this business. We won't exist without them, actually, right?
Mm,
I think using the word help kind of puts us a little, above them in the chain, but that's not true, actually. They're equal partners. So yeah, we
sure.
can never use that word, actually. So what were the early thoughts? I guess, initially we started off as because I'd gotten my handbag painted and that's what people really liked. So I thought, okay, maybe that's the launch idea, that we start with hand painted handbags. But with every bag, it'll be about, storytelling, that we shine the spotlight on the artist, on the art, on the history of the art, on the story of the actual motif which is on the bag. And with every bag, we would give these beautiful postcards which tell all of that story, actually, and the story of the artist as well. So that, it brings that recognition and respect for that artist also, right? In fact, I remember a lot of people told me, oh, don't share your artist name with people, because others will also start going to them. And I was like, honestly, the only reason I'm doing this is because I want this to be a venture where people get to know more about these artists and arts, right? And as long as I'm giving enough business and work,
Yeah.
then why would they have to go to anyone else, right? That's the only way of keeping people working more with you, if you keep generating enough work. And if I'm not generating enough work, then sure, they're free to go to anyone and work with anyone else as well, right? So I think the initial thoughts were always about, because I came from a tech background, I didn't want to go the route of, selling through a retail store and stocking my product at different places. I didn't know that world at all. So for me, it was very clear that it has to be a direct to consumer brand right from the word go. And we have to have a really beautiful website. We have to have a very seamless sort of payment experience, buying experience on the website right from the beginning itself, right? So I was very, very clear about that.
Yeah.
And when you think about, like, okay, you want a website, now a lot of people will be like, okay, let's create the website from scratch, right? But again, because I worked in tech, I was like, okay, why would we create a website from scratch? Because this is an e-commerce website, right? Like, I've done a business before this where we actually created everything from scratch, but that was because it was a very, very specific business which had very specific requirements. In this case, an e-commerce website, platforms like Shopify exist, which have beautiful templates. They have all of the functionality, right? And I didn't want to be creating a separate tech team just to be managing the website. So I was very clear that, I looked at Shopify, I looked at some templates, some of them were great. I could literally manage all of it myself, have a freelancer who helped customize some of it. So literally from the beginning itself, we had a really beautiful website, an absolute, a payment gateway, which was completely integrated. So the whole process was very, very, seamless for anybody who wanted to buy online. And this I'm talking, we did that 4 years ago. So yeah, I mean, for me, that's where the tech element came in. That right from the beginning, I was very focused that I'm not thinking like a designer where I need to stock at different places. I'm thinking like someone who's created websites before, who's been in tech before. And for me, it's about being able to get anyone across the world to be able to get our products, right? So hence being direct to consumer, direct to customer on web was very, very important. And that's what we focused on from the beginning itself.
Amazing. I actually like what you shared when you said we don't help, we are co-creating, we are partners. Because sometimes when you start from the place of I'm here to help, it can, I mean, it can be very a very different approach and not necessarily. Yeah. It's not necessarily like you're looking at revenue profit, which is what at the end of the day really matters. So coming to and I like that you started with looking at the tech payments, which is where I find a lot of business can get started. They have a great product offering, but when it comes to payments, they've still not got all the pieces in, right? And some small business owners still don't even get the they are like Google Pay and maybe bank transfer or any other challenges when you were setting up, or was it like you thought about this, you rolled it out, it was great from the start?
There were definitely challenges. I think the biggest one of which was that I lived in Hong Kong, right? And while the business, like creating the products, our artists were all over India, right? I mean, in the beginning itself, with the first collection itself, we were working with more than 10 different kinds of arts from Madhubani, Gond, Pattachitra, Varli, right? Miniature art. We were actually covering more than 10 different arts in the first collection itself, literally, right? So it was quite, and for me, while I could travel very often to India and I would do that very often, but still, it's not the same thing that. And the other challenge was that we didn't, unlike traditional design houses, we didn't have a studio environment where we tell the artisans to come to that studio and actually, work with us in that studio. We are actually going to them where they are. And because again, the vision is that we want to be able to, cover as many art forms, as many traditional arts as possible. So we have to go where they are. So literally imagine it's a distributed process where we're sending across our products to them, co-creating the artwork with them. Like honestly, the good thing is that all of them are on WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is literally the lowest common denominator. So, we literally have on WhatsApp or our artists, and we tell them that okay, let's co-create. We change the color palette a little bit, we add a little modern element to the entire artwork, and that makes it a little more contemporary and changes the aesthetic of that artwork. So yeah, it's been a process where we've had to do a lot of that. So the challenges are of course the fact that I didn't live in India, so I had to find a team from the beginning itself, right? Which was a lot of times we can manage things by ourselves if we're in the same country, but I had to find a team. I had to trust the team that they'll be able to manage. So I had one person who's actually been with me for the last 4 years. He literally was the first person I hired and has been managing everything, all our operations, all our admin. All the artists know him and trust him and respect him a lot. So I think, yeah, for me it was very clear that I'll need to have a team. I'm always thinking of this business from a long-term perspective. So I can't just start it and not create like the legs and groundwork for it to be able to grow, right? So for me, that was important from the beginning itself, that create the groundwork, whether it involves making sure that you have a team in place, so that even if in the first collection it might just be 40 bags or 50 bags, right? But it's going to grow, and with that vision in mind, you have to put the groundwork in place. So yeah, I mean, I've tried to do that since the beginning itself, but it was definitely challenging that it was a physical product and not being in the country where it's being made. Obviously that was quite a challenge.
Yeah, I would imagine that's quite challenging. So you set up the team even before you launched. So did you have like a launch phase, or was it very organic?
So yeah, I mean, the first collection, like I said, we literally just did like 40 or 50 handbags. We covered about 9 to 10 different art forms in that, created beautiful postcards, nice packaging. But the marketing and the sales of that first collection was completely organic, actually. It was all word of mouth, and all of it was sold out within weeks, in fact, right? So I think the first collection, it was a small collection, but the good thing was that it was a proof of concept, and it was a clear indication that, and at that point, honestly, our prices were also slightly higher. They were in the $200 to $300 price range. So I often say that, my friends love me, but, some of my friends are not buying it because they love me. They actually like the product, right? Like they wouldn't be spending $300 on a product just because they're my friends, right? I mean, and then people were coming back to buy more as well. They'd like, okay, now I've got something for myself. I want something to gift to my mom. I want something to gift to my sister, because they're just beautiful products. And there's a story to tell with each of our products, right? Like who made it, what art form it is, how old is this art form. This artist has been doing this for so many generations. So yes, it was that launch phase, but we took it as a proof of concept that clearly this works and this has legs, and it can become a proper business.
Okay. And so I don't know if my next question is relevant. Did you have like a big startup cost, or it was just bootstrapped in?
We're still bootstrapped. We've been bootstrapped since the beginning itself, but I have been putting in money and investment into the business. And I think because I come from fintech, I still have been doing a lot of fintech consulting, but I've been using what I earn from the consulting to put it into the business. So there's definitely cost, because especially, I mean, while over the last 1 year, our business has changed a bit, and we'll talk about that. But at least in the first 3 years, it was all product focused, right? So which means like every time we're launching a new collection, there's investment that goes into that collection, into that inventory, right? Into like paying the artists, into creating the packaging and all of that, the marketing of that that as well, right? So every collection is an investment, and we were launching collections literally every 2 to 3 months. We were launching a new collection actually. So
Okay.
you'll see on our website that we have loads of different styles
Yeah.
of bags and artwork along with them. So yes, definitely there was a cost, but I think I'm privileged enough to that I was able to bootstrap it, because I was earning and I was investing that into the business. So yeah, so that definitely helped. But yes, there was definitely, I think, when you want to create a brand which is long lasting, investing into that brand from the beginning itself is important. I still feel we haven't done enough. We actually need to do more to invest into the brand, but I tried doing that from the beginning itself.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. Stay tuned as we take a quick break, and we'll see you on the other side of the show. Yeah, I like this that you're sharing this, because a lot of people feel, let me do this much, then use the money, the revenue that we make from having those sales to grow the next one, which is, of course, how a lot of businesses probably get started. But there is an investment. A lot of business owners think that I can't invest more than this, or that investment is spent on things maybe that you don't need in the first year, maybe, or in the first 2 years. So how did you then find your clients? Yes, the first collection may have been friends and family, but moving on, how did you grow your brand marketing, and how did you find customers and patrons? Because I know you refer to them as patrons. I saw that on your website.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, we always refer to them as patrons, because they are patrons of the art, right? They're not just a customer. How did we find our customers? So I think at the beginning, because people who bought from us, a lot of them actually, used to post the pictures of them carrying our product and tag us. That used to actually lead to a lot of organic growth at the beginning, right? I mean, because when you tag a brand on Facebook, initially organic growth on Facebook was actually easier. Like now it's much harder, but initially it was definitely 4 years ago, I would say it was quite, much easier. And we would encourage people to do that. And I think because of the kind of product it is and the story that it has, that story is so strong that people actually feel like culturally aware. They feel, good about buying something from us, because they feel actually that, this is going into preserving heritage, it's going into preserving culture. That story is so strong that people would write about it, and they would post beautiful pictures and tag us, and that would actually lead to more sales for us as well. So I think the first 7-8 months was very, very organic, that we were able to grow organically quite easily. I think the other good thing that we've been able to do is, and this is again, like, we've been doing this for the last 2 years already, that we've tried to create some signature lifestyle events around our brand as well. That in Hong Kong, we actually hosted an event called Kalyani, the first Women in Indian Arts Festival. And we've done a festival called Katha, which is the first Indian Wall Mural Festival, right? So this is, we're positioning ourselves as almost as cultural custodians, that, with Kalyani, we actually invited like 19 artists to come from India to Hong Kong and perform. And it was like a 2-day festival of all women artists, basically, performances by women artists. And even like, some of our artists were painters, they're painting exhibits and them doing workshops in Hong Kong. So I think that really helped position us as that, not just a fashion brand, but a culture brand, right? So which was interesting, because at that time we weren't even thinking of anything else. We were still like an artisanal fashion brand, but for me it was the culture aspect was always so important, that we were always like trying to create the brand around that. And I think while it might not lead to direct sales, but when 500 people come and attend an event where you're front and center, it leaves them, that your name is there in their subconscious, and they kind of think about it later when they go back, and you're collaborating with other organizations, so you have access to their client base, their customers as well, which are sort of a similar mindset and aesthetic again, because they're focused on culture. So I think that creating these signature events, collaborating with other organizations which had people who had a similar mindset, that also really helped as well. Little bit, I mean, we've not been great at influencer marketing, but we've done some bits of it where, sort of working with influencers again, whose aesthetic is similar, who support our Indian arts and crafts and support Indian culture. When they post about it, it immediately kind of leads to an increase, in followers. It leads to like inquiries and sales, sometimes sales as well. So I think that bit helps as well. But yeah, for us, definitely organic was the way to go, or like people, organic growth with similar people, collaborations, and creating these signature events. And honestly, we've been doing paid marketing as well. Like I've never shied away from paid marketing, running paid Facebook ads, doing proper targeting and making sure that we can actually reach people who are our target customers. We've definitely spent money on doing paid marketing as well.
Yeah. I think that's something that's also important for people to know, that you do organic, but there's also got to be the push that you have to do as a brand, invest in paid ads, and they do give a return on investment at some point, maybe not immediately, but eventually. And
but
so I want to ask you.
You have to keep optimizing. That's for sure, because I think that's quite important, that even though you might not be an expert, so I'm not an expert, I'm definitely not an expert in paid marketing, but I've had someone who works as a freelancer with us who actually is an expert. But obviously we need to make sure that I'm sitting every week, we do a call once a week, and we make sure we go through the numbers. Is the sort of ROAS, like if we're spending X amount, are we getting at least 3x in sales or not, or 4x in sales or not? There must be some benchmark that we need to follow. So I think that focus is quite important. Again, I'm not great at it, I'm trying to get better at it, like making sure that we're always tracking. And I think just making sure that you're tracking your numbers is definitely quite important. So yeah, I mean, with paid marketing, that's definitely a very important thing, because you need to keep iterating them.
Yeah, I also believe in having a certain percentage of your marketing efforts on paid as well, or even paid PR, influencer marketing, performance marketing, all of that. And so what did you plan for that went well, and what didn't go well? That you had this plan that I'm going to do ABC things when I start, but what didn't go according to plan? Because plans, they look good on paper. Sometimes the ground reality is different, and all business owners face this. So in your with you and Memeraki, what was one of these or couple of these things that happened?
I think what went well is that the people who bought from us actually did love the product. They always refer us to others. I feel though that the growth of that part of the business, which is the artisanal hand painted handbags, wasn't up to the target that I had kept in mind, actually, right? Like I would have wanted it to grow much faster and much bigger in the first 3 years itself. But for me, I feel like it didn't grow as quickly as I wanted it to. And again, I think because I came from a background where, with tech products, literally, there's an inflection curve, and when suddenly you hit a growth curve, and then everything grows really crazily. Like we had 1 million users for my previous startup, right? 1 million downloads of our app. So in my head, I always kept feeling, okay, this is not growing fast enough. This is not growing fast enough. So I feel like that part I was always worried about, that with the handbags business, with the hand-painted handbags business, while people loved it and that really went well, but I would have wanted it to grow faster. So a couple of things that we tried, like we actually had a retail store in Hong Kong that we shared with another brand. While it wasn't, something I'd ever done before, but, I thought, okay, maybe, while we're doing everything online anyway, maybe we need to try the retail side as well, because maybe our product is such that people need to come and see it and experience it. And that's when they see how different it is. So we tried all that as well. But I feel that all of those things in my head are very non-scalable. It's fine, great to have a store, and I did it, but I don't think it's something that I do again. Like especially like not something where it's completely dedicated to me and I have to spend time, unless after a few years we become a much bigger brand and then we start having a retail presence. That's different. But as a smaller brand, trying to create a retail presence, I think was not a great idea, and it was a waste of time and effort.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Because a lot of people go through those iterations and you see what works and don't work. So pandemic 2020, and then you're right bang in the middle of growing your business and the pandemic hit. How did you manage during the pandemic? Were there any changes, pivots you had to make? Walk us through that.
So the pandemic has changed our business completely, actually. And interestingly, it's taken us in a good direction. It's taken us in a very interesting direction, actually. So when the pandemic hit March, April last year, honestly, our sales obviously tanked. Like who wanted to buy a handbag in the beginning of the pandemic, right? Like nobody was going out. Everyone's conserving money as well. And, obviously this is more of a luxury item. So why would anybody, spend money in buying that? So obviously our sales tanked. And what I saw is that while, sure, I can keep investing in money and we can keep running the business, but our artist partners were really struggling more because obviously we weren't giving them enough work, but we're not, they obviously, sell their paintings also, which is quite important overall in their livelihood. But no paintings were being sold at that time because no exhibitions were happening. There was no tourism, and those are their two main channels for being able to sell paintings, right? And that's when we thought, okay, we need to think of something which can help, not just reinvent ourselves, but kind of enable us to make sure that the artist partners we can actually make sure that we can generate revenue for ourselves and for them, right? So when I thought about, okay, what's our biggest asset, the fact is that our artists are our biggest assets, right? Like their talent, the fact that they've been doing this over generations, people want to see it, people want to like experience it. That is actually what the biggest asset we have. So we launched online art workshops with our artists actually in the beginning of the pandemic in April last year. In fact, the first workshop was literally my family. I told everyone, and my family is all across the world. I told everyone that you have to, pay for this workshop and sign up and join this workshop and paint along with the artist and learn from the artist, because this will help you figure out how to position, create these online workshops basically. And since then, there's literally been no looking back. We've done over 400 workshops in this period.
Wow.
By thousands of people across the world, a lot from India, but a lot from across the world as well, a lot from the US, UK, even Australia, Hong Kong a little bit, Singapore, France, you name the country, and I think we would have had attendees from that country actually. So I feel like this actually enabled our mission. If my mission, is to, take heritage arts and crafts from India to start with to the world and provide stage to these arts and arts. So actually, this enables us to do that in an even bigger way than our hand-painted handbags could ever do actually, right? So yes, the pandemic has actually been an interesting time for us. It's taken us on a completely different path and journey, but I think it's an interesting path.
Okay. So my question is, before the pandemic, you never thought of doing art workshops or these online workshops?
Correct.
It wasn't a...
No, we hadn't.
Wow. So,
although because of the lifestyle events, the signature events that we had done, Kalyani and Katha, we a little bit of it, and I had seen at that time that there's definitely a market for it. People are very interested in these experiences, basically, right? These heritage and cultural experiences, where they're learning about their culture as well. So I had seen a little bit of that. So I think that somewhere at the back of my mind, it was there that, this is something we need to explore. And again, the fact that I'm not from a design background as such. For me, the whole idea and the whole, purpose of doing this was that I wanted to create something where it takes these arts it gives these arts a new life and revive these arts, right? So I'm not wedded to the idea of only creating handbags. Honestly, I'm happy to take the business in whichever direction can help the overall mission, right? So my overall mission is clear, and I'm happy to take the business in any direction which fulfills that mission in a bigger way.
Yeah, I think during the pandemic, a lot of people had to make a lot of changes to their business, and I think this is a true example of what pivoting kind of means. So today, from having just one revenue stream, it's a fair thing to say that you actually have two revenue streams. You have the workshops as well, and that's not going to go away.
And the thing is, along with the art workshops, then we've also added the artist paintings on our website. Like we never thought of doing that earlier, but at the end of every workshop, people would be like, oh, when the artist would like give a tour of their studio and show their paintings, and everybody like, oh wow, like we want to buy these paintings, right? And again, like for an artist to deal with so many different customers, how to collect payments, how to market to these customers, it's difficult, right? So if you look at our website, we actually probably have the biggest curated collection of traditional art in India as well now. I mean, again, any traditional art form, you'll find beautiful paintings curated, by our team, and from each of these artists we work with, from 150 plus artists now on our website. So that's a revenue source as well. And the other thing with the art workshops is that while earlier we were only doing painting workshops, now it's become about all heritage arts and crafts. So sometimes, like, if it's something like Kantha, which is an embroidery form, or Sujani, which is an embroidery form, or Tanjore, in which gold sheets are used. Now, there's very traditional materials required for this, which people would not have access to. So along with the workshop, we're actually creating these, art kits for each of these workshops as well, which people are buying directly from us as well, right? So in
Amazing.
again another revenue source, not just for us but for the artists as well, because for most of these workshops we're actually sourcing from the artist directly.
Yeah, I think this is like a real true example of, literally delivering to the customer what they need. Like, you want to do the workshop, but I don't have the material. So you're making it easy. And this is something that I really believe. And I think you are living it, like with Memeraki.
Yeah.
It's an example. It's a live example of, if customers can't find the materials, they're not going to be part of the workshops. But if you're giving it to them, it makes it so much easier. So I love this. And I think what you've built, what you've grown, I saw the paintings, amazing paintings. It's really a great job by you and your team, and of course the artisans.
I just like to add something here, because
Yeah.
earlier we've spoken about marketing. So
Yeah.
I want to add something over here about the marketing bit, that here is actually when I've discovered the true power of community, right? I mean,
Mm,
now is when I realize what community building actually means, what the power of community actually means, and listening to your community, what that actually means. Because literally, how you're saying, right, that
yeah.
customers told us that, oh, can you help us, with these materials, and we're like, okay, we need to get into doing art kits. Then customers told us, okay, can you help? We want to do this workshop, right? We want to learn this art form, and we're like, okay, we're gonna go and find an artist who we can work with for teaching you this art form, right? So literally now it's we literally have a Facebook group where we have 1,000+ people. These are some of our best patrons,
Mm,
while obviously it's been thousands who have attended the workshop, but this is a group of people who've been like very very closely associated with the workshops, and we keep asking questions there, people keep answering, and based on that we keep re-strategizing, keep adding features, and keep adding workshops based on that as well. And the really nice thing is that we have some of the biggest super users as well. So imagine we have people who attended 60 workshops with us, 50 workshops with us, right? Which is intense. Like imagine
wow.
somebody done 60 different art workshops with us, right? And with most of these super users, I'm actually personally in touch with them as well. And again, I try and make sure that I constantly keep asking them, what keeps you coming back to us? What else do you want us to do? What other art form would you like to learn, right? So that's something I'm constantly doing,
Mm,
and which is where I feel like I think now we are finally being able to leverage the true power of community, which we never had in the earlier. I mean, we had people who loved our work, but actually coming together as a community, I think, yeah, that's something we've finally been able to learn and do now.
yeah, not only an example of a great pivot that you made during pandemic, but I think this is also a great example of your product market fit, because you're constantly listening to your customers, speaking to them, and then you're creating stuff that they need and bringing it to them, bringing them access to stuff that they want, right? Or to art that they want. So amazing. I think you've done some fabulous work, Yosha. So what's next? What is next for you and me, Miraki? What's
Yeah,
the
I think now, like I said, our mission has become a much bigger mission, that we call us the culture tech platform now, where we want to
Mm,
reimagine the future of the whole artisan economy, right? That we want to be able to make sure that every artisanal art form can actually, be put to the world stage through our platform.
mm,
So what's next for us is we're actually looking at, also think of it as masterclass, but for traditional arts and crafts. That while we'll have live
yeah.
workshops, but we actually want to like almost create these beautiful pre-recorded, sort of masterclasses for these arts and crafts as well. So we're in the process of doing that and creating the tech platform for that as well, which will then enable us to reach the creative sort of audience anywhere in the world. So imagine like somebody living somewhere else in the world who wants to just experience a new art form, but now because we'll have subtitles, we'll have translations, they'll actually be able to do that with this masterclass. So yeah, that's what is next. And I think yeah, now we want to actually make this into a big scalable business. So earlier when I used to think in thousands of customers, now I want to actually
Mm,
like millions of customers. I want to think of thousands of artists that we can work with and impact and create impact with. So yes, big plans.
yeah, I love the vision. It's like big, hairy, audacious goals. But my one question is it always going to be only Indian art, or do you plan to add other art forms from other countries?
We definitely plan to add other arts as well. In fact, I mean, if you think of it, every part of the world has beautiful art. Like I'm in Australia right now, Aboriginal art is beautiful, right? In fact,
Yes, yes.
there's like such similarities between Aboriginal art from Australia and Gond art and
Varli.
and
Okay.
and go in India actually, right? Then Vietnam has beautiful lacquer paintings. Myanmar has lacquer paintings as well. Indonesia has its batik and tie and dye. Every part of the world basically has beautiful art. Islamic art is beautiful, right? So definitely, I think my dream is definitely to become, the culture tech platform of the world.
Wow. Yeah, I think that'd be so interesting because no one has thought to, put everything, every art form under one
Yeah.
umbrella. And now that's the vision. So yeah, I'm going to be cheering you on. And with that, we have a couple of more questions for
Mhm.
you before I let you go. This has been a very interesting conversation. So what does a day in your life look like? Like you are based in a different country, you're
Yes.
doing this.
Yeah,
What's the behind the scenes? I love listening to behind the scenes.
behind the scenes is interesting because I'm in Australia, which is 4.5 hours ahead of India. So my team comes online at like 9:30, 10ish India time, which is
Mm,
2:30 for me. So I do try and, like, obviously, I mean, in Australia, there's a lot of everything is very DIY. You have to do everything yourself. So a lot of home chores, my dog,
yeah.
all of that. I try and wrap that up in the morning. But also, because, I mean, actually the team's also gotten quite big now. We have 6 to 7 full-time people, we have a couple of freelancers, and we actually always have a team of interns working with us as well. We have like 7 interns along
Wow.
with
Mm,
full-time people and 2 freelancers as well. So there's obviously lots of different moving pieces going on. So what I try and do is, like, every day have like a very quick daily stand up with the tech, interns who are working on the website and who are working on the tech platform. Then have a daily, call with the team as well. Again, everybody, so that everybody can just discuss what their priorities for the day are, and everyone knows, and also, I think I want everyone to know what everyone's working on, because we're not all in the
mm,
same place anymore. Right? Everyone's working remotely. So it's important that we see each other's faces every day and we kind of know what everyone's working on. Then every day is kind of a little different in terms of, one day we'll have, maybe a paid marketing focused call. One day we'll have a, social media focused call. So every day is at least a couple of, calls with the team, focused on
mm,
strategy, focused on analytics, on numbers, etc., etc. And I, like, if I think about, like, where is my time best spent, because now
mm,
there's a team which is doing the rest of the work, right? My time, I try and spend a little more time sort of in the business development. So we're trying to build out the corporate workshop part of our business as well. We've actually had, bigger organizations like LinkedIn reach out to us to do corporate workshops for them, and we've done
mm,
that. I think there's
mm.
clear market there as well. So trying to spend a little more time doing that. Obviously hiring is always something I'm thinking about as well, because actually I'm really happy with the quality of interns and the kind of work they're doing with us. So I think
Yeah.
that's something I spend a lot of time on, like always having a, hiring program on for getting interns on board who can, because younger people always come with such new ideas as well, right? I mean, which I feel is really nice, that every 4 months we have a new batch, of people coming in, and they come up with new ideas and newer, ways of doing things.
Mm,
So I spend some time, very regularly on hiring and interviewing interns as well.
okay.
And yeah, so that's pretty much what my day is like. A little bit of everything.
Yeah, but I think that's a lot, right? That you are managing. So, do you miss the fintech world? I mean, I know you still have, like, you could still consult
Yeah.
and
I mean, yeah, I do have my fingers in a few fintech projects here and there, but not too much. Do I miss it?
mm,
No, I don't actually. I think because the thing is that fintech is so deeply embedded into everything you do, that
yeah.
even what you're doing right now, I mean, everything is fintech at the end of the day, right? That I have to make sure that, how are my artists getting paid? Can we make the process for paying them easier instead of doing these bank transfers that we do,
Mm,
to them? So these are things which are constantly going on in my head as well. So I think fintech, literally, I
yeah.
mean,
Okay.
everything is fintech, right? So it's constantly part of, this work as well. While this is, an arts focused business, but at the end of the day, it's an e-commerce platform. It has fintech embedded in it. So yeah, I mean, I think because it's there as part of my work anyway. But if you actually ask me, do I miss working in the world of fintech? Honestly, no. I love what we're doing right now. I love what we're building. I feel it's something which has never been done before. We're
Yeah.
literally pretty much
Unique.
pioneers in trying to do this. It's hard. It's a tough problem to solve. And yeah, so I'm really enjoying building this. It brings together everything that I love: art, tech, impact. So yeah, I love building this.
Yeah, I think, and it shows your passion is very evident. And also, it's something unique. Like, this is something that hasn't, like, I haven't heard of
It's
a
not.
business like this. Yeah.
It absolutely hasn't been done before.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're like, you're innovating. You're a true innovator in this space. And with that, I want to ask you, what's a mantra you live by? Like, how do you deal with every entrepreneur's challenges? How do you deal with that? Is there some tips that you can share?
For me, I think the only tip is that change is inevitable, right? I mean,
Mm,
what we're doing today will not be relevant tomorrow. What we're doing tomorrow will not be relevant, afterwards. So I think for me, just sort of making sure that while I might have 5-year ambitions, 3-year ambitions, but at the end of the day, we have to just keep changing, keep iterating, and keep going forward. And yeah, change is the only inevitable thing.
And would that be your advice for other female entrepreneurs who are watching or who are listening to this podcast right now? What would your advice be for,
What would
or at
my
least three things that you must do before you start or while you start your business?
I think one biggest thing is we need to learn to put ourselves out there and talk about what we're doing. In fact, I would say while I did a lot of that earlier, I haven't been doing enough of that in the last year and a half for sure.
Mm,
And I've seen that with most women entrepreneurs as well, that we shy away from talking too much about what we're doing. And even as women employees, honestly, I think most of us believe that if we're doing good work, we'll be seen and work will shine through instead of us talking about it. So I think it's required. We have to talk about what we're doing. We have to make it is big. Whatever we're doing is big. Whatever we might be working on, the new ideas we're working on. So I think instead of making it smaller, we have to make it bigger. We have to put ourselves out there and talk about it. So I think that's my
mm.
piece of advice. Just making sure, and I think most people would give this advice, right? That network enough, surround yourselves with people who support your vision, people who can amplify your voice, people who can put you in touch with others, who can help support your vision as well. So I think just making sure we network enough, meet
Yeah.
enough people, talk to enough people. And again, I've not been doing enough of that. I think sometimes it's time to heads down, just work. So I guess we've been in
Yeah.
that, been heads down and working, and now it's coming to a point where it's a phase where I do need to do more of talking about what we're doing, which is what we're doing right now. Thanks. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just networking enough and making sure you have a solid group of people backing you.
Yeah, I think this has been a very interesting conversation because often a lot of businesses, it's someone else doing it a different way, but yours is something that's never been done. So I'm very excited for your journey, and it's been amazing. And we hope we can continue to support the whole community of artisans. I won't say that I'm a big I don't think I ever thought that I can do art. I'm really bad at drawing, but yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot.
It's actually it fits in really well into the whole wellness and
Yeah.
stress relieving category as well, which is why so many corporates are reaching out to us to do corporate art workshops, because especially like Madhubani art, it's very repetitive. There's repetitive pattern.
Mm.
And literally all you need is a black pen and paper, honestly, and you'll be able to create beautiful art. Trust me.
Okay. Taking you up on that. Maybe I'll be at one of your workshops.
Yeah.
And with that, we come to the end of the interview. Thank you so very much. All the best to this BHAG goal of yours, and I hope I know you will achieve it, and I can't wait to see how Memeraki grows in the world. And all the best to you, and thank you for being and sharing your journey with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun. It really helps to actually talk about it, because I think, when you hear yourself talk about it, your goals, sound like, okay, this is exciting. I can do it. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you like this episode and you want more, you can go to the show notes on my website, which is successwithsavita.com/podcast. If you like what you've heard so far, I would be grateful to you if you could leave me a 5-star review, subscribe to this podcast, and share with a friend who may find this useful. You can also follow me on my Instagram at Success with Savita and DM me any questions you may have, and I will be happy to answer them for you. Until the next episode, believe in yourself and all the best to your success.
इस हब हॉपर ओरिजिनल को सुनने के लिए आपका शुक्रिया। अगर आप भी अपना पॉडकास्ट लॉन्च करना चाहते हैं तो हब हॉपर स्टूडियो वेबसाइट पे रजिस्टर करें और 1 मिनट के अंदर अंदर अपना खुद का पॉडकास्ट लॉन्च करें। यही नहीं, स्टूडियो देता है आपको पूरी आजादी कहीं भी कभी भी अपना पॉडकास्ट लॉन्च करने की, सिर्फ 3 आसान स्टेप्स में। तो साथ में अपना पॉडकास्ट शुरू करने के लिए तैयार? जस्ट हॉप ऑन हब हॉपर, सिंपली कंटेंट।